everyone, today I'll be reviewing this Polish movie just dropped on Netflix. It's called Heart Parade, and in this movie we see Magda. She's kind of a scared of dog, like she doesn't like dog in this movie, but she has this really great job at her like this nice company. She works there in the TV station, but her boss has a dog. But when her boss gives her to look after her dog one day, but she actually accidentally somehow the dog get really sick, and in this movie she gets fired. And in this movie we see she traveled all the way to a small town where there is this dog parade happen, and she's suspecting there's something suspicious happening. She traveled all the way to that small town to see what is happening there, to investigate, to impress her boss. So in this movie we also see in that small town there is a one widow who has this single dad. He has this son, and of course when she meet this single dad and his son and their dog, of course she start falling for them. Yeah, the story is a little predictable. What do I think about this movie? So I would say this movie, it is kind of like a mixed bag. First of all, this movie I felt like it was really long, and the first half an hour for this movie, it is really hard to get in the movie. You are like, what is happening? She just goes in here to there. It's hard to understand. Probably from my perspective for this movie, the dubbing isn't that good. Especially all the dialogue this movie has, it does feel very crampy when you watch it. What is happening? But once she goes to that small town, this movie did become very watchable, interesting. This movie, it is a romantic comedy. It's trying to do something about this idea about she doesn't like dog. Now she's friend with the dog's family, and that is this movie's idea. So I will say this movie is kind of mixed bag. It is the first hour is not that interesting. However, the second half of this movie, once you meet the single dad and his son, I really like in this movie. I really like the single dad and the son. I thought they had really good chemistry. And especially this dad character, he's interesting. He works in a cemetery, and he has this work with his work buddy, and she goes into this small town, and you see all the small town stuff. Although it didn't felt like small town. They were living in a big city, I would say, because they were living in this apartment. It's not like a Tuscany or anything. But I will say I will say this movie, it is okay. It's not very nicely edited. That is why I think many people will not like this movie. I think it was kind of okay. I wish the editing was better. A lot of scene dragged here and there, very unnecessary scene. Why we are watching so many times she's walking with her suitcase. Those scenes are really unnecessary. Just make that movie really felt like you were watching a really long movie. Although this movie wasn't very long, but what I will say in this movie, I really like the dad and his son relationship. After his wife passed away, he didn't move on or nothing. He just a single dad. Of course, when he meets this girl, I guess I start liking her, but of course she's hiding something from him, which is you do see it coming. This movie, it is very predictable, and that is why I think it's an okay movie. It's not that bad either, but it's not. It could have been really good. But the first act is really hard to get into this movie story you are watching. That's what I felt like. But I'm glad I checked it out, and that's my thought on this movie. Let me know in the comment whatever I think about this movie. I thought the acting was good from the dad and the son, and the lead actress, she tried her best with the script she was given, and oh, okay, that is what you think of this movie. And that was my thought on this movie. Let me know in the comment what you think about this movie, and if you enjoyed about this review, don't share my other reviews on other Netflix Polish movie. They're on my playlist. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Until I see you next time, please take care.